During the pandemic, Hoover the goat has become a welcome surprise at teleconferences. Hi, Hoover.
When he came into Sweet Farm, he did not trust humans. He was in really poor health.
Before the coronavirus pandemic, Hoover and the other animals greeted visitors in person at Sweet Farm, a California animal sanctuary.
When COVID-19 happened, we had to rethink how we were continuing to execute on our education approaches.
Once the virus struck, founders of Sweet Farm, Nate Salpeter and his wife, Ann Sweet, could no longer give farm tours, which accounted for almost 70% of their revenue. So they came up with the idea to send their animal ambassadors into people's homes, virtually. The initiative is called Goat to Meeting. For about $100, a Sweet Farm animal will attend your online conference. It's a sweet escape for people stuck at home in front of their computer screens. For a brief moment, they are transported to open fields with sweet animals. The funds from Goat to Meeting go to rehabilitate these rescues.
They come from a variety of situations, everything from factory farms, live markets, animal abuse, neglect, shut down rooster fighting operations.
Rescue is part of Sweet Farm's mission. During go-to meetings, Nate Salpeter also shows how to buy or grow food locally, how to cook sustainably in a way that is better for the environment. His foundation helps bring awareness on the dangers of global meat industries and wet markets.
After Sweet Farm made this possibility, I decided that would be a really good thing to help bring a little bit of joy to our team meetings, as well as to support an issue that was near and dear to the hearts of many of the people on our team.
Elaine Turville, a government consultant, surprised her colleagues by bringing the farm animals online.
Along the bottom, I could see everybody's video, and I could hear kids in the background going, "Mom, look at that goat," or "Look at that cow." It was awesome. So you had all these people who had been stuck inside, mainly in urban areas, who had only seen their family and were sort of like craving this interaction to be able to see the animals. It was amazing. We received so many positive comments about how people felt, how it made them feel more connected to each other, because then they could talk about the animals.
We're happy that we can share it with people. It puts smiles on people's faces. They can get out, stretch their own wings, even if it's through a video screen. Learn some things, ask their questions. It's so important that, people recognize that we're all in this together. That can't be stated enough, especially at a time like this.
Where Utah meets Arizona sits Monument Valley. Its iconic sandstone formations make it the crown jewel of the Navajo Nation Reservation, the biggest Native American territory in the United States. But lately, the park has been empty and its access forbidden.
During this time, every season, there would be thousands and thousands of visitors per day, but because of the pandemic, all our scenic destinations are closed.
Locals suffering from a lack of income are lining up at the park's entrance, eager to pick up donations of water, food, and cleaning products.
It's really helpful for the families, especially us who don't have money and don't have a job right now.
Jonathan Nez says it took too long for the U.S. government to send federal funds.
The CARES Act was intended to give relief to all U.S. citizens throughout the country. But the first citizens of this country, of this land, didn't get immediate attention.
The Navajo Nation has been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic, suffering the highest case rate in the country. For the past 2 months, the number of confirmed infections has continued to grow. But in this small health center, only one doctor is on duty. Dr. Key carries out his consultations in a parking lot.
Hello, Dolly.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
Dolly Crank tested positive for the coronavirus.
Well, I called this morning earlier that I wasn't feeling good, that my coughing starting to get worse with my breathing, shortness of breath.
We do seem to have a population that is very susceptible because of the diabetes, heart disease, obesity, and the fact that in the homes that there's very little space and a lot of people living in small spaces.
In the sovereign territory the size of Ireland, at least 30% of residents do not have running water. Many families depend on public water stations like this one. Amanda Larson and her 3 children fill up a dozen big bottles.
We come every couple days, every 3 days we come and we refill all of these, and this is all the jugs we have.
Yeah, daily routine, in and out.
Larson must ration water to cook, wash clothes, and bathe her children.
I would have my kids wash at least every 2 days, but now that this pandemic is here, they're washing basically every day. To me, it's embarrassing. It's degrading. It's heartbreaking for my kids.
The pandemic has also become a challenge for the nation's oral history. Transmission of knowledge, essential among Native Americans, has been carried out within families for centuries, typically by the elderly. But since they are the most vulnerable to the virus, many are scared they will lose this living memory.
For our ancestors, they have, they're the wisdom keepers. They have the knowledge.
Navajo families are singing and praying to protect their elders. And they're staying home, confined in the big open spaces of the American West.
Pubs in Britain welcomed customers for the first time after months of lockdown due to the coronavirus. But in the U.S., the mayor of Phoenix, in the state of Arizona, says businesses in her city opened too early.
We had crowded nightclubs handing out free champagne, no masks. Our 20 to 44-year-olds, which is my own demographic, really led the explosion, and we've seen such growth in that area. We're seeing a lot of people go to large family gatherings and infect their family members. We are in a crisis related to testing.
Francis Suarez, the mayor of Miami, Florida, is also dealing with a surge of new COVID-19 cases in his city.
But there's no doubt that the fact that when we reopened, people started socializing as if the virus didn't exist.
The concerns come as the United States celebrated the July 4th Independence Day, which saw long lines of cars waiting to get to beaches in some areas and crowds gathering to watch fireworks in others, including the National Mall in Washington, D.C., where President Trump spoke, downplaying the threat of the coronavirus, which has killed nearly 130,000 Americans.
But now we have tested almost 40 million people. By so doing, we show cases, 99% of which are totally harmless.
The president also addressed the urgency of finding a vaccine.
We are unleashing our nation's scientific brilliance, and will likely have a therapeutic and/or vaccine solution long before the end of the year.
But the administrator of the Food and Drug Administration, Stephen Hahn, distanced his agency from that commitment.
I can't predict when a vaccine will be available, and I just want to tell you about FDA's role in this. Yes, we are seeing unprecedented speed for the development of a vaccine.
Hahn also emphasized measures that can curb the spread of the coronavirus before a vaccine is available.
This is a very rapidly moving epidemic, a rapidly moving pandemic, and any death, any case is tragic. And we want to do everything we can to prevent that. What I would say to the American people is follow the guidance of the CDC, follow the protocols of the local and state governments, wear a mask if you can't socially distance, or if the local procedure is to wear a mask at all times, socially distant, hand sanitation, and protect the vulnerable. That's how we're going to get out of this.
To date, the United States has recorded about 2.8 million cases of COVID-19 and is currently the country with the highest number of infections and deaths in the world.
TikTok has been long criticized as a threat to its users' privacy and U.S. national security. Earlier this year, U.S. Senators Josh Hawley and Rick Scott introduced legislation to ban all federal employees from using TikTok on government devices because of concern over the Chinese government accessing the data of American users. Analysts say this is a real danger.
When I think about the risks of, downloading or using these apps from China, it's that we're looking at risk. And by risk, it's the risk of the CCP saying, let's break glass in case of emergency. And it's in those instances where they might look at their national intelligence laws and ask companies for data.